in this episode of Mind Pump. So for the first 42 minutes, we talk about current events, our lives, and we just have a lot of fun. And then after that, we answer a bunch of fitness questions. Here's the rundown. We start out by talking about anabolic steroids and genetics. Is the reason why those amazing looking bodies on Instagram or in the magazines, is the reason why they look so awesome because of steroids, or do genetics play the biggest role?
It's the steroids.
Then we talked about Adam's brand new freezer in his garage so he could store all of his butcher box, grass-fed meat, and his wife's breast milk. It's all in the same freezer. Now, Butcher Box will deliver to your door grass-fed, high-quality meats at amazing prices. And right now, if you sign up until the 15th of October, you'll get free ground beef for life. So here's how you get that promotion. Go to butcherbox.com/mindpump and sign yourself up. Oh, and by the way, you'll also get $20 off your first box. Then we talked about Ned, the maker of hemp oil extracts, one of the best ones you can find anywhere. They have a new product for women to help manage hormones and symptoms of PMS. Now, Ned, again, one of our sponsors, high quality, full spectrum hemp oil extract, which includes CBD within their product. We got a discount for you. If you go to HelloNed, HELLONED.com/mindpump, you'll get a massive 15% off your first purchase. Then we talked about the Joe Rogan episode where he just interviewed a commander from the Navy, and they talked about UFOs, and we give our opinions and theories as to what those things may be.
Ooh, I love alien stuff.
We talk about how SpaceX got $3 million from NASA. I talked about how an asteroid is going to fly by Earth and just miss us. I talk about how scientists are growing psilocybin from bacteria. They're making magic mushrooms from bacteria. That's kind of crazy.
Just go get it from the poop.
Then we talked about how China has more rules for their people. Yay, more control. Then we got into the fitness portion of this episode. The first fitness question, this person wants to know what cluster sets are and how you would integrate them into your workout. So cluster sets, advanced technique. A lot of people are talking about them right now. There's some benefits. We highlight all of them in that part of this episode. The next question, this person wants to know what we think of the drugs called Sarms. Sarms stands for Selective Androgen Receptor Modulator. These are drugs that are on the gray market. You can buy them online. They're promising steroid-like effects without any of the side effects. If it sounds too good to be true, it's because it is.
Side effects may exist.
I break it all down for you. The next question, this person wants to have some tips on how to stay healthy during a long road trip. And the final question, this person wants to know if we've ever dealt with anxiety and if we have any techniques or things that we do that help us out through our periods of anxiety. And also, this month, our most popular MAPS program, the most effective muscle builder that we have. Muscle builder, metabolism booster, body sculptor, MAPS Anabolic is 50% off. Tens of thousands of people have discovered why MAPS Anabolic is a super effective program. It's the program that introduced the trigger session concept to the fitness industry. Okay, this is a breakthrough workout program. It is our flagship program. It's half off. This is the only time we do it all year long. Here's how you get the discounted price. Go to mapsred.com. That's MAPSRED.com and use the code RED50, RED50 for the discount.
And it's t-shirt time.
Ah, shit, Doug. You know it's my favorite time of the week.
We've got 4 winners this week. We got 2 from iTunes and 2 from Facebook. The iTunes winners are Yum 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 2, Chris Gut 0515. We've got for Facebook Dustin Leonard and Heather Domeno. All of you are winners. To collect your shirt, send an email to itunes@mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, and reference the name I just read, and we'll get that shirt right out to you.
Yeah, so I got a message from some kid talking about how steroids is the reason why you see some of these athletes and people in magazines and why they're so big and muscular. It's like it's all about anabolic steroids.
I'll never forget running my first cycle, and I was probably 80-something pounds, low 80s, and I think I bumped up to like 187, 192 or something like that.
Boom.
And was strong, was really, really strong.
But still like lean.
Yeah, but super lean, didn't put on a lot of mass. And the moment that I got off of it, all of it went away. I lost the strength. I didn't have the same kind of strength.
Everybody thinks it's that it's magic.
No, it's.
Do you remember? Was that the first time you realized, like, wow, genetics plays a huge role?
Yeah, huge
role,
more of a role,
biggest role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and and honestly, I didn't though. Looking back, I'm saying yes, but.
You're like, I didn't take enough.
Yeah, exactly. I got to do another cycle. Oh, I didn't take the right stuff. This time I'm going to try this stuff. Well, I only went for 8 weeks. The next time I got to go for 12 weeks, and so you play that game of, oh, it must be this. Oh, it must be that. And then after you've done a few rounds of it, you realize like, oh shit, there's a whole lot more to this than just, oh, if you stick a needle in your ass, you'll look like
you ever remember the first time you met someone where you actually understood like genetics? Like you met someone in person, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
this makes a big. I had a porter that worked for me at one of the clubs that I ran a long time ago, and he'd walk around and just had just a crazy looking physique, triceps that look like balls on the back of his arm. Just this really, really muscular dude. And when I first
like sports balls.
Yeah, when I first ran the
other balls.
When I first managed that club, I saw this guy and I thought, oh, that guy's on tons of gear. But then I got to know him. First of all, he's a porter, so he cleaned the club in the middle of the night. So he's not making tons of money. Then I learned the guy lived out of his car. Then I saw what he ate. And it was like 99-cent cheeseburgers when he could afford it. Box of cereal when he could afford it. And then I got to know the guy and I could see, and I saw him work out and I realized he's just insane genetics.
Yeah.
Insanely strong.
I was like Jerry.
Totally.
Yeah.
Ate Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
Twice a day.
McDonald's, like and bring it in with the wrapper and smelling like, I'm like, bro. And he was like a freak.
You know what it is?
35,
arms are huge.
35 years old. He looked like he was 25.
Yeah.
Abs year
round. He found
round.
the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's like looking at someone like Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein and be like, the only difference between that guy and me is that he just studied hard. And took some Adderall. Like if I just studied hard and took some Adderall.
Can you imagine that's all it took?
I'd be a brilliant
actually
astrophysicist too.
Most people on Adderall probably think that.
That's actually a good analogy.
It is.
It's a really good analogy because I think we look at people that have these physiques and I don't think we realize how much of that plays. Why? Which is funny because we know that if you look at Michael Phelps in a pool. There is
like if I just practice swimming all the time.
Right, you could eat what he eats, you could train as much as he trained, and you won't ever come close to competing with him in the pool. He was built to do that. Now that doesn't take away all of the man's hard work to get there,
right?
Because that's what makes him a gold medalist, and a record holder.
Yeah, but even if let's say Michael Phelps did not have the work ethic and determination. Let's say he was just regular dude who went swimming every once in a while.
Yeah.
He would be faster than anybody you know. He'd still be faster. But the fact that he trained and was consistent and dedicated, that's what made him one of the winning, the winningest
everything.
Yeah, one of the winningest
matters.
world champions of all time.
Well, this is part of the problem that I think has perpetuated bad information in the fitness space is you have some of these guys and girls that are kind of genetic anomalies. And they have figured out whatever it is that works for them, and then and they've gained some sort of attention, whether it be by becoming a pro in men's physique or
and you
bodybuilding.
follow them, so you see their posts like on a daily basis. It becomes like a normal thing to you.
Yeah, and so I think, and I think they really believe in because nobody ever thinks that they're a genetic freak. Nobody ever thinks. You rarely ever get somebody who's just like, I'm a genetic
They're
freak.
confused like why their program doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it worked for me.
Here's what I think, Adam. I think they do know that they're a genetic freak. I think they don't want to admit it because admitting that is like saying that they didn't work hard or something. Come on. If you're if you're Jay Cutler, and you're 18 years old with 19-inch arms, or you're 15 years old and you're the buffest dude around, you don't think he knows? Like he's walking around, people going, dude, this, that guy's fucking. He knows. He's just. They admitting that you are a genetic anomaly.
It devalues the work.
It
ethic.
devalues all of the work and everything. Just like saying you're on steroids does. That's why a lot of people don't want to admit
I
they're
don't
on
know.
steroids.
I think they believe it, dude.
Maybe it makes them feel better. And it doesn't take away from the hard work.
Of course not, because it still takes incredible hard work.
Yeah, when it comes to genes, this is just the way it works. The vast majority of us are in the middle. the vast majority of us. But there's a wide gap between the middle and the worst and the middle and the best. So think about it this way. Think about genetics in terms of physical, athletic qualities, right? Think of the worst genes you could think of. This is a person who maybe even just has trouble walking without falling. They're just completely unorganized, completely terrible balance, no coordination whatsoever. Just horrible, horrible genes on that side. That's how bad things can go. Now think of the opposite, how good and extreme they can be on the other end. It gets pretty crazy, but it's super rare. So that's the other thing too, is you look at pictures and you watch sports and stuff on TV, or you read about people, and it makes it feel like it's more common than it is. But let's use an obvious one. Let's use one that's super visible. Think about people who are over 7 feet tall, right? Super rare in real life. People who are 7 feet tall are extremely rare, extremely rare. Think about the last time you saw someone that was 7 feet tall in real life. Right, that wasn't at a pro basketball game.
Yeah, it wasn't the NBA. Yeah. So the NBA is like the Instagram of bodybuilding.
Yes. Yes.
We all think everybody looks amazing on Instagram because you follow the top 100 bodies in the country.
Yeah.
I remember a couple bulls came into work, and it was like everybody just stopped mid-track. It was like watching like giants walk through.
Have you guys ever seen a person that was 7 foot that wasn't at a pro bat?
We had one of our last live events, was a few live events ago, 3 collegiate swimmers that were 6'7" standing next to us. And it was the most like, holy shit.
And that's not even 7 feet.
Yeah. 6'7".
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
we're not small guys.
I think they were 6'5" and 6'7". Is that what they were?
Yeah. I mean, it just blows you away to think of that. And that's why they're called anomalies. Same thing with intelligence. There's a middle range, and you can be smarter in the middle and not as smart in the middle. But man, there's people so far on the other end of that smart that you're like a super slow processor compared to them. You're like a Polaroid camera, and they're an iPhone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can explain quantum mechanics to me. That's another level.
Just extreme brilliance. So it exists on all levels, and anabolic steroids can enhance whatever you have, but it's not gonna. Let me put it this way: you could put the 3 of us in this room on the craziest, most sophisticated anabolic steroid, growth hormone, insulin, every hormone and drug imaginable stack of all time. Put us on it for 5 years. None of us would crack the top 10 in Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, of course not.
That's how crazy.
That just crushed my dream, Sal.
I was actually talking to Jessica about it this weekend, because who was she looking at? She was watching someone on Instagram, and it was some girl who was deadlifting 400 pounds like 15 times.
Oh, I saw that video. Just broke my heart. Just
and she goes,
ruined my day.
And she goes, I thought you said I was strong. She's telling me this. I'm like, you are strong. She's like, I thought you said I had good genetics. I said, you do have good genetics.
That is something else.
I said, you're not at that level. That's a whole nother level that I don't think I've ever run into before. And
not many people have.
I said, she has great genetics. She's got great muscle building genetics, small joints, long muscle bellies. But then there's another level that is just doesn't make any sense.
Does she pull or squat better?
Deadlift.
So she squats.
Yeah, she's pulled over 230, I think.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, which is not bad.
Yeah.
But she doesn't train like a power lifter or anything like that. She trains.
What about your girl? She squat or pull better?
She squats better.
She squats better.
Yeah.
Weird.
I know. Weird. Our priorities. Our preferences.
She doesn't know what a deadlift is.
I was like,
she's like, what's a deadlift?
Maybe it's all in the teaching mechanics. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
It could be in the husband.
What about
the husband factor?
What about Katrina? Squat or pull?
You know what? They're pretty close. Katrina's strong as fuck, man. She
was a collegiate athlete.
Yeah.
So she's got some.
She pulls 275 and she squats over 225.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So she pulls and squats pretty well. Yeah. A lot of that was gains though that she's made since we were together. She didn't train like that when we were first dating. The first.
Yeah, you said she was all circuits and stuff.
Yeah, she was circuit based with weights, so never lifted 5 reps of anything and gave herself 2 minutes rest. Like that was unheard of in her training. And she ran. She ran so for her exercise, it was running miles and it was circuit training in the gym. And when I got a hold of her training and her diet, we completely fit that. And so I watched that scale really fast. I remember watching her. I used to have a really great video on my Instagram when she pulled, I think her first 250, I think was one of the first PRs that she hit. And she was like, She pulled it up and then like just dropped it and like
Now you know she can
she like clapped.
She can save you from a fire now.
Yeah.
That's what I told Jessica. Like, you need to be strong. What if there's a fire or I pass out?
Good thing. Yeah, you got to have that.
No, Jessica's got like the longest, consistent throughout her whole body, the longest muscle bellies I've ever seen. Like her quads come way down here, her hamstrings, her calves, her biceps, her triceps. She develops a little bit of muscle. It's like, and in small joints on top of, which is rare. Typically you see long muscle bellies and big joints. She's got really, really small joints on top of it. So those are all good things for aesthetics when you're working out and trying to build muscle. But there's a whole level of genetics out there that is extremely rare. So rare, in fact, that if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have media, you'd never run into it. Like if this was like 10,000 years ago and we were still tribes, you would never have seen any of these people ever.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd be walking around and you'd be talking about the giant that someone. There was a giant in a village far away.
It's interesting that we talk about things like this, and I think these people are, because of the ability to connect like we have now on social media and stuff. But because when I look at Instagram and I look at the people I follow, and I'm guilty of this too, I follow all these beautiful bodies. You know what I'm saying? Somebody comes on my feed and strong people and super buff and fit, and so I don't know how many. I think I have like 1,000 people or so that are connected to me that I follow. And of those, probably
I follow ugly people, dude, just to give them, a little love.
Make you feel better.
Yeah. Sorry. I know there's some hot ones in the mix. I'm not talking about you.
Everybody that just
everybody else. Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably like let's just say for argument's sake, 50% to 75% of the people that are maybe connected to me are like your elite fitness people, and when I think about the gym and working in the gym and looking around at all the people that worked in our gym,
which is already, by the way, a bias,
right? A bias, because
these are people who work.
They're exercising. They're not. You're already carving off 80% of the population. Yep. These are the people that actually care and make it to the gym. And then when you look at that 20%, there's what percentage of those people have that level of a physique? One maybe person in the gym, maybe if you're at like
if you go to Golds or something
right,
like that.
you're Venice Golds. It's an exception to the rule.
Go to a health club. No way.
Yeah, 24-hour fitness. Go to 24-hour fitness.
Yeah, you're gonna stand out.
No,
if you're consistent and you eat halfway decent, you're the buff guy or girl in that gym. You know what I'm saying? That's how rare it is. No, it's totally true, man. Like again, if it was 10,000 years ago, you'd never. And now think about this.
You say so far away. Say 50 years ago.
Well, you had newspapers and magazines then.
Yeah, but you're still in.
That's why I like going to 24-hour fitness. You feel like a hero again. You're like, I just stack all these plates on here.
That's why I have those memberships. That's how I feel.
Little ego bump.
Yeah, you know, if you catch me in Golds or whatever like that, like I'm feeling myself. It's a graduation to get there.
Now think about it this way. Now
nobody even looks.
Now put yourself in the place of. Because when I was a kid, when we were kids, we were exposed to media, obviously, quite a bit, but it was mainly TV and movies, and we weren't exposed to them constantly all the time. Most of the time we spent was with our friends outside and hanging out. We watched TV, but it wasn't like it didn't consume us the way I think media consumes kids nowadays because of their phones. So kids are on this media so often, so much, and they're on social media, and they're looking at all these faces and pretty bodies and pretty faces and accomplishments that are maybe real, maybe not be real. These Photoshop pictures of people with perfect skin, stuff like that. It's going to be it's got to have an interesting impact, where you're kind of looking at all this stuff, and you can't help but and it's not a conscious comparison. It's your brain just automatically figures out the averages, and so your average becomes an average of what you see, and so you've got all these kids on media and probably thinking, wow, I'm not cool. I'm not doing a lot of awesome stuff. My skin looks bad. Look at my hair. I'm not as pretty.
I think a lot of that too, what I think that we don't realize is a lot of that's subconscious.
Most of it.
Right. It's not, because I'm sure there's people that are listening and are like, oh, I don't compare myself to everybody else. You don't have to. You don't have to actively go like, oh, look at him. He looks better than me. Oh, look at her. She looks better than me. You don't even have to actively do that. Just to your point you're making right now, the way that the brain works is it's downloading that information, and it's predictive. And so it's
That's what I'm saying, dude. You got to follow ugly people.
Dude,
that's your secret to success.
It's just better.
Ugly people start just getting shit tons of followers. I hit 100,000.
I highly suggest it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, good job, Eeyore.
Yeah.
It's funny if you on that note, Adam, if you look back in time, go and look at media pictures of what people considered buffed 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. And what they considered buffed back in those days was like look at Tarzan, the movie Tarzan. I think it was in 1960 or 50 or something like that. He was an Olympic swimmer. Now, for all intents and purposes, he's a fit and healthy man. He wouldn't even be considered slightly muscular today. They wouldn't put him on a soap opera today, that same guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But back then, what they talked a lot about was his incredibly fit and muscular physique. You know, there's old movies with Clint Eastwood or where they take their shirts off. And again, today you think, oh, there's healthy looking man. You wouldn't think to yourself, buffed or muscular.
Whoa, yeah, like superhero.
No, that didn't start
status,
happening till much later. Doug's gonna pull up a
it's a lot to live up to now.
Yeah,
the
look at this guy.
Superhero body.
Look at that second picture, or right there, the third one right there in his loincloth. Like nobody, you know what that looks like? That looks like just a regular dude compared
Nice
to
dad bod.
What year is that, Doug?
1950s, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that guy right there, the women used to comment on how incredible his physique was, and he was just an Olympic swimmer. You know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is funny.
It's wild.
Yeah, we figured it out.
How we've changed our, and then on top of it, because you add plastic surgery and stuff like that to the mix, now the norms have changed to where, you know, boobs now we think they look a particular way when in reality probably don't. Or like if all media went away within 1 or 2 generations, boy, everybody's perception would shift so strongly.
You think so?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Because then it would just be based off of what you see around you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Anyway, speaking of crazy stuff, what's up with your D-ball breast milk?
It's my new side hustle.
So is that do you have a big deep freezer in the garage?
I just got it.
Is there some demand for that or what?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, bodybuilders are starting to drink breast milk now. I figure if you infuse it with D-ball, I should be able to get like 4 or 5 times the market value, right?
Oh, man.
Is that not a good idea or what?
No.
I thought it was.
So what do you have? You have a huge. It's just a big box.
Human to human.
Yeah,
Makes
so
sense.
you know, and I'm curious now to see what my new cadence is. So there's a few things in my house that I'm like trying to this new like everything's on auto shipped to your house thing. Like I guess maybe I'm still an old guy and I'm still transitioning to get used to like what that looks like my dog food, right? So my dog food now, I get all my meat sent like that. We get like all of our like house supply stuff. You know, I'm trying to learn the cadence. I don't know if you guys do this a lot or not.
Yeah, you want to stagger it so it hits at the perfect time.
Yeah, and one of the problems I was having with ButcherBox was originally I set it up to where it was 1 time a month, and that was too much, too fast. I have too small of a freezer. I have one of those the double door ones and the skinny ass. And so before long, especially when we were
you gotta
doing
get the dead body freezer. I got a big one now.
So did I, right? Yeah. So and I had Smoothie Box coming. So I had Smoothie Box, I had ButcherBox. I have them there, and that was filling my freezer up like within 2 or 3 months. I was like, okay, so I had to back off the cadence. So I backed all the way off to every 3 months, which is cool about ButcherBox. You have that ability to change the cadence. And so then I went to 3 months, and then I found myself going to the grocery store and buying more meat because we would run out of whatever we would normally be cooking. So I think now having a backup big freezer like that, I can get back to like the one a month cadence, and then if it starts to store up for a while, then I'm probably going to be perfect.
I like those deep freezers because you can throw all your meat in there, not worry about it. It saves you so much money. You've got your because then where do you get your grass fed if you don't go to? You have to go to Whole Foods to go buy it. It's expensive as hell.
I don't. The only place I get it now is through ButcherBox. The way I look at it is this, right? So, because I think we've talked about this before, that you cannot compare a grass-fed piece of steak to a grain-fed, fatty, marbly steak. Yeah. So the mistake that I think some people make, they hear people, I hear grass-fed, and then they go have grass-fed, they're like, oh, gross, grass-fed doesn't taste anywhere near as good. Well, that's because it's nowhere near as marbly and fat. It's a lot healthier for you than a normal steak. And I think that ButcherBox is the closest I've ever tasted to like what a grain-fed piece of steak tastes like.
Agreed.
And so what I do, but I still enjoy getting those marbly fat steaks that are, that I know that are not ideal. So the way I look at it is like the food that I prepare at my house will always be through the grass-fed ButcherBox stuff. And then when I go out for a restaurant, like we had Willard Hicks just recently, and I doubt they're using grass-fed steak for those cuts.
Oh, so tasty.
Right. I'll enjoy a cut.
Yeah, no, I just love, like, I was thinking about this the other day too, of like opening the fridge, and I just, the overall quality of what I have in there is like so much better between ButcherBox, like covering all the meats, and then I have like the CSA for all the fresh produce, like coming on a couple, like it's every other week, I think is when we pick it up.
The CSA?
The CSA. And then we have, eggs from the chickens outside. And I mean, the only
That's
thing
great.
left is I don't condiments, you know. So we got to get a condiment sponsorship. But that's about it.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's great, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, the way I look at it is because I eat a lot of meat. I eat red meat. I mean, if I'm honest, I eat red meat 5-6 days a week. If you're going to eat that much red meat, it makes sense to go for high quality. It's just a lot, and I noticed a change. I noticed a change in my inflammation in my body. Yeah, if you're going to eat steak, red meat once a week or less, does it make a difference? I mean, over time, over years, sure, but probably not that big of a difference. But if you're going to have a lot of red meat, like I do, I'm going with the quality, and I notice a difference in inflammation.
I eat red meat daily.
Yeah,
Daily.
Yeah,
At least once a day.
Yeah, I'd say once a week or twice a week I'll have chicken or maybe fish, but it's almost always some kind of red meat.
I mean, I'm eating chicken and fish and bison, and I'm rotating in turkey, all that in there. But that's
one meal.
Yeah, that's one meal. That's the other meal with that. But red meat is 100%.
Have you guys done the brisket from Butcher Box? They don't always have it.
Yeah. I've done so remember how I told you guys?
I've done that yet.
I told you how
you prepare that thing right.
Well, I
cook it real
we
long.
crock pot it, so we do it the same way we do the.
I'm gonna do that next.
The pork shoulder,
Okay.
so I've done the pork shoulder and the brisket.
So what do? You just put it in the crock pot with some water and some cut up stuff?
Yeah, I can't remember what Katrina does for each one, but she has like a little bit of a different recipe for the pork shoulder versus the brisket.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I think she chopped up some celery in one of them and did some other stuff like. But yeah, no, the meat falls apart, and then I just put it over like a bed of white rice.
Oh, that's great.
So good.
Last night we ate over my mom's house, and my mom, whenever we eat there, she'll make, because my daughter loves my mom's homemade pesto. So my mom has the leaves. What are the leaves you use for pesto? What is that?
Basil.
Basil. Thank you, Doug. She grows basil. She'll make it fresh, and I never eat pasta, or I do occasionally, but pasta can bother me sometimes. But I've been feeling pretty good. So my mom's like, can you eat pasta? And I said, yeah, I think my gut health's been feeling pretty good. Let's do this. Man, I go there and she makes that pesto. And I swear to God, dude, it's like, I don't know if she sprinkles drugs in there or what. And I eat that I ate a bowl of that and I'm like, let's fucking do this. I had 2 bowls of that. And then my dad made lamb and he breaded that and grilled that thing. Shit ton of lamb, pasta. I'm excited for my workout today because I feel like I ate a shit ton
You're
of.
all stored up.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm ready to rock and roll, man. But, you guys ever have homemade pesto?
One time, yeah, it was amazing.
It's fucking life changing.
Do you have some or what?
It's life
I
changing.
know, you should bring some in.
Yeah, I was
You
gonna say,
got to eat it there. You got to eat it when she makes it.
I feel like the deal, if we talk
Like
about
sourdough
food on the
bread
show
with
like
that
that,
would be
the
awesome.
other guys have to bring it in at least.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I want to make the recipe. That Rachel just posted on Instagram. By the way, I don't know if people know that now or not. Have we talked about that on the show or not?
The MindPumpKitchen post.
So once a week, we have a recipe that goes up there. It has everything, breakdown exactly how you prepare.
So
what's in
awesome.
it. Yeah, no, it's. There's the last one he just did. I want to try and make.
Speaking of Rachel, she's been using the new Ned product, but hasn't been using it long enough for us to really get like her opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked it up. So you guys saw what we got from them, right?
Yeah, no, explain it. I know we
stole it from her initially.
I opened it up. I looked at it, but just briefly, and I handed it to you because I wanted you to kind of give your feedback on the research on it because I've never been a big fan of CBD infused in a bunch of different products, but this isn't just that. It's actually specific towards women's cycle.
Yeah,
is that correct?
So they made there's a few different products they made specifically for women. So this is Ned. For the listeners who don't know, Ned makes full spectrum hemp oil extract, which also contains CBD, but then also has all the other cannabinoids, CBC, CBG, for example. We've talked many times about the potential uses of those types of things. But anyways, these products are specifically geared towards women. So one of them is a hormone balance blend oil. Now, in this product, you do have the hemp extract. So you do have that. But then you also have milky oats and oat straw, red clover blossom, dandelion leaf, lemon balm, black seed oil. All of these things have been shown and been used for for a long time to help women with the hormones, or at least the symptoms of things like PMS and their cycle. Then they have one that's called Period Ease. So this one sounds like it's more of a to help with pain, like cramps and whatnot. And the ingredients in this are, again, really good. There's black cohosh, valerian root, which is a relaxing herb, cardamom, cinnamon, and then of course ginger, and then of course you have the full spectrum hemp oil. So I looked through them, and the ingredients are legit. These are oils that people have used for a long time to help treat hormone imbalances and to treat the symptoms of your period. So we'll see. We'll see what she says.
Now, what do you think about? So I know one of them is actually topical too.
Right.
So what
the two that I just rattled off are not topical. Those are the tinctures.
Oils.
Those are oils that you take, and just like the other hemp oil.
Yeah.
They do have topical, also hemp oil extract products for women that you rub on parts of your body to help with pain. I need to do more research and learn more about how topicals work, because I don't know how cannabinoids work when placed on the skin. I know how they work when they're ingested, but I don't know enough about how they're put on the skin. So I don't have much to give you guys in terms of that.
Yeah, I'm curious.
But I mean, up until now, Ned has been they've been the leader in their quality. They've been phenomenal, and women have used cannabinoids now for issues with PMS and their period for a long time. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, one of the number one reasons why women were getting cannabis prescriptions in California in the first place was PMS. Now, I don't know if that's because they were using it for PMS or because in California you can put whatever you want and they thought that would be an easy one.
Yeah.
But I have read studies on cannabinoids and cramping, and some studies show that it may actually help. So, and anecdotally speaking, I've known lots of women who said it helps them, tons. And I'm talking about the women who use the non-psychoactive versions too. So not THC, but rather
hemp-based.
Yeah, hemp-based kind of cannabinoids.
Now they just launched this product line, right?
Brand new.
So it's live. It's going. It's on the site. Oh.
Now, if you're here's where I would lean. If you're somebody who wants to use hemp oil because of its anti-anxiety, anxiolytic type effects, and you're a woman and your anxiety hits you right around when you're right around the week or before your period, then you may be better off getting this product than just their hemp oil extract, because that means your anxiety may be tied more towards your cycle, in which case this product may be better than just the pure hemp
far
oil.
That's most of the anecdotes that I've heard, even from my wife, is it's mainly been super effective for anxiety and to help mitigate those symptoms. But in terms of pain, I haven't had a lot of people telling me that that was as effective. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, the studies on cannabinoids and pain show that they work really well with pain medication. So people who take opiates will reduce their opiate amount and then take cannabinoids, and then they get the same kind of effect. So it may be a synergistic
so you need that
thing
entourage.
Who knows? Who
Who knows?
knows?
Hey, who was on the Joe Rogan's podcast just recently?
Dude. Did you hear it?
No,
I was actually listening to it on the way over.
UFO stuff is what I heard.
Yeah,
Yes.
this was
I gotta get the guy's name. Let me see.
Yeah, get that right.
That was today's?
He was a naval officer that was, I guess,
Commander David
yeah.
Fravor.
There we go.
So this is a Navy commander who, do you guys remember the New York Post might have been, or the New York Times did an article on how a Navy pilot saw a UFO and they recorded it?
Yes. I remembered it now that they brought that up in the episode. I was like, I do remember that coming in the news for a minute. Yeah, it was interesting because he flies those those Hornets and the Super Hornet and the super fast planes, and they do simulations where they have one squad is fighting the other squad, one's acting like the enemies, and so they do drills like that and stuff. And so this actually happened when he saw the UFO was when they're running one of these active drills.
Well, here's the crazy thing. So first off, this guy is a commander. He's got 20 years experience. He's flying $70 million machines. So, U.S. government isn't going to put an idiot or somebody with psychiatric problems or whatever.
Well, most of these are aerospace engineers.
Yeah.
So most people are, that are pilots at that level.
Very credible. Yeah. Very credible. This guy's operating extremely expensive machinery, and then he's in charge of a lot of other pilots. So he's up there. And he's talking about it, but it's not just that. They also had recordings of it because the guy that was in his plane with him is tracking it with their tracking equipment. And these Hornets and some of these planes is extremely advanced tracking equipment. So it'll have regular cameras, it'll have infrared cameras, it'll have radar. And so they were tracking this thing. And this thing, which was about 40 feet long, so he says about the size of a jet, it dropped from 80,000 feet, which
down
is
to 20,
is like space, you can see the curvature of the Earth. From there, all the way down to 20,000 feet, within like a couple seconds. They're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Then they catch it on the camera. It's jamming the radar, which by the way is an act of war. So I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah.
If you jam radar, that's considered an act of war. So it's jamming the radar. So they're tracking it now with cameras and infrared, and this thing is moving like as if physics doesn't exist or air and gravity.
There's no
don't exist.
propeller, like any kind of because he's hovering close to the water and it's not affecting any of the water.
Did you guys see the video?
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube.
Doug, you gotta pull that video up. I want
Yeah,
to see this video.
yeah.
Here, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, so hold on, I'll tell you the whole
Well,
thing.
yeah,
Okay.
keep
So
going.
so this thing can move left, right, forward, back. They're following it, and then it just takes off. And he says it took off so fast. He goes, "There's no plane on Earth that would even come close to that speed." He wasn't the only one that caught it. Other pilots caught it too, and they all caught it on camera. And it's officially, the U.S. government officially released it and said, we don't know what the hell that is. And oh, by the way, other pilots have caught video of these
In
things.
2015, there was a whole nother sighting
Yep.
that were different objects out. I guess it was like more of a sphere with like a square, like a cube in the middle of it. They were just hovering. Yeah. And like they didn't know what the hell those things were.
Yeah,
There's
so
a bunch
it's
of them.
and they're now openly talking about it. Like we don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck this is and what's going on. So anyway, what's your theory?
Well, I just think that there's
They could be holograms.
maybe
Right.
whatever it is though. Like I think it's less likely aliens and more likely that we have some secret operations and technology that's far beyond 99.9% of the regular population's belief of what we can and can't do. You got to think there's got to be the people that think that they're top secret and they're getting all the information. There's got to be another group on top of that group, or there's the highest level of secrecy that we have. The technology.
Well, I think that's always been the game. In different countries, they always want the latest technology. You know, they want to advance it and like keep it under their wraps because then that's how you control power.
Well, that's way more plausible than aliens visiting us. So I would agree, Adam. I would say that would be the one I'd put my money on. I mean, look,
and maybe not even ours. Maybe it's not.
Well,
maybe
I
it's
mean,
not
it could
US.
be like
German.
Russia,
so
China,
somebody else.
I think it's ours.
spying on us.
I think it's ours. I think if we saw it and it wasn't ours,
Yeah,
we
we'd
wouldn't
be-
say anything.
Right.
If we saw it and
Yeah,
it
you're
wasn't
right.
ours,
Yeah, you're right.
we wouldn't say shit to anybody. So
Oh.
here's two reasons why I think that's true. One, when we went into Iraq the first time, that's the first time the world saw stealth bombers.
Yeah.
That fucking technology
In
was
the
invented.
50s.
It was invented way before.
Way long.
And that was
ago.
us just flexing on everybody and saying, okay, here's.
Oh yeah, just look at the patents, how far they go back for some technology that you think is like VR. Even I think I remember seeing this, like how far they thought of VR. It was insane. It was almost like 1920 or something like ridiculous like that. You're
Yeah.
like, no way.
Yep.
And then you go back and look at the records of the patent. It was all drawn up, like somebody's wearing a device over their face and like that's projecting images.
Now, here's the other reason why I think that's a totally plausible theory is that you guys know Area 51, right?
Right.
You guys have all heard of that.
Right.
And how there was this alien spacecraft that crashed there and they had aliens and they're hiding. That's what's going on over there. Well, that's where the U.S. government was designing the top secret plane, the what's it called? The SR something Blackbird, the one
the
plane that flies
Blackbird.
like Mach 3.
Yeah.
And what they do is they do what's called, they're trying to send out counter information, fake information to get everybody off the trail. So they are the ones that created the alien story to get people, because people are going to see that there's a fucking base there. They don't want anybody knowing that they're testing, top secret jet. So they come out, they put out this fake information. So here's what I think. I think that this is our technology and we're flying it around our own pilots to see how they react, see what our equipment can do to it
We're flaunting right
without
now.
letting them know.
Yeah.
Without letting them know.
I like
I
that.
always want to know the motivation of why bring it more visibly out now. Like what's in the works in terms of like, and why are we so concerned about getting to the moon and getting to space and like all these programs, privatized programs now? What wasn't there a recent article about SpaceX getting a bunch of money to go to the moon?
Yeah, $3 million. The part of what made that news is that NASA and SpaceX supposedly have been at wars with each other. They're not fans of each other, but yet they're funding $3 million towards the SpaceX project, and that's kind of like the race to get to the moon, to get from the moon to moon to Mars.
Now, what if here's a good movie theory for you, Justin.
Okay.
What if at some point we design artificial intelligence, it fucking takes over the world. It kills us all. It creates time machines, and then it goes back in time, and now it's watching us through their own creations,
Their own lens.
Yeah.
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 Those are our future people.
Yeah, it's probably
What if we're still biological though?
There's a few.
They're just watching
So
us.
you go the sci-fi route.
Yeah.
Speaking of science, did you guys know that I think it's this week an asteroid is going to fly closer to Earth than the moon
What?
this week, and it's about the size of a building.
It's a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah. NASA literally just saw it. And they're like, oh, by the way, this week.
Don't panic.
When are we going to be able to see it? Are we
It's
going to be
gonna
able to
do a
see it?
little
I don't know if we're going to be able to see it.
flyby.
But
We're
I
gonna
read-
get like a flyby, like noise. Just
But I read an article, and it's gonna fly to Earth, closer to Earth than the moon, and it's the size of a building, but it's not gonna hit us.
Is it gonna hit the moon?
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
that-
Oh, that would suck.
Right? Can you imagine?
No.
The sky is falling.
Yeah. No.
That's crazy.
No, not at all.
That's scary. Yeah.
Anyway, more science. Got some cool science stuff for you. Scientists have they've artificially engineered bacteria that eat food and then poop and create psilocybin.
What?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm processing that.
Yeah. So
Bacteria that's going to poop and make us
Psilocybin.
magic mushrooms?
yes.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So one of the problems with, because we have studies now that
Sounds like a cartoon.
No, one of the problems with psilocybin is growing it, making it, producing it in mass, especially if we're going to use it to treat mental illness and whatnot.
Is that really a problem?
Well, isn't
Yeah.
it from cow shit?
Yeah,
Like,
it'll
you
grow
just-
almost anywhere.
Yeah, but this process here, so they took a popular bacteria, E. coli, they engineered it, and now it makes psilocybin when they feed it through the fermentation process. So this is a very easy, fast way to produce psilocybin if we need it for mass production.
So you just need a big poop factory.
Yeah.
Harvests all that.
Isn't that kind of cool?
That is cool, but I didn't know we had a problem with growing mushrooms like that would ever, like I feel like mushroom farms would be really easy.
I do too, but apparently this is easier.
Oh, even easier.
Yeah, this is easier and faster. So-
Okay.
Or maybe they're just trying to find ways of patenting it. Oh, you fuckers. Could be that.
It's
huh?
probably more likely that.
If they're going to sell it as medicine.
Did I tell you
Now you're
guys
thinking.
about the cotton candy grapes? Have either one of you guys tried them yet?
No.
No, dude. You said you're gonna bring them in.
But I did get grape flavored cotton candy.
Man, Choki, have you had them? Okay, Doug, have you
I
had
have
them?
bubble gum.
I got some this weekend.
You did? How do you like
oranges.
them?
They're great.
They taste just like cotton candy, huh?
They do.
They're
Is that-
grape.
Isn't that amazing?
They're great.
So I'm a dork, right? I have something like that. I'm like so curious to like how this happens and like where do these grapes come from, whatever. So
A grape had sex with cotton candy.
Obviously.
not what happened actually. So it's a farm in Florida, okay, and this is only since 1996, so they haven't been around that long. They have the patent on it. So how do you patent
It's 20 years.
grapes? Yeah, 20 years. But I mean, that's relatively not that long for as long as grapes have been around, right? So they patented, they went through over 1,000 different genetics crossbreeding until they got this perfect cross.
Oh, that's right. You told us this.
Yes.
That's right.
And then they patented that. So they own the right to breeding those two strains to make that grape. And they're based out of Florida, which is probably why we only see them grace our grocery stores.
Are they expensive?
They are. Like
course.
$10 or $12.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy some today. Where'd
We
you
do.
guys just at any grocery store?
No, Whole Foods.
Oh, really?
If they're still around.
I'm going to go get some.
Yeah, we bought like 10 bags and froze them. So and they're great frozen. They're such a great treat frozen.
Did you guys hear China, what they're doing? They passed some more rules for their people, because they control everything.
Oh man, yeah.
If you want internet access, you have to pass a facial recognition software test now. So now if you want to go to the internet, you have to show your face and it has to do, facial recognition. And then if you're allowed to go online. then
So
you can go online.
what is their reason for that? Not what you think and their speculation, all the fucking scary reasons why.
Because they want only the people who should use the internet. That way bad people don't use it, and it's all
It's just another way they can put them under their thumb.
It's all
That's
social molding
Yeah.
and control, bro. They're trying to take
Social control.
try to take their billions of people and just mold them and control
Just
them.
turn all of them into robots.
Oh, crazy!
It just see, every science fiction movie ever has warned us about that kind of shit.
Oh, it scares us.
Forever.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see the protests in Hong Kong over China?
No.
Oh boy. Oh boy, man. Huge protests over there because they don't want to be controlled. Everybody's wearing masks because they don't want the facial recognition technology to pick them up.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
That's
Now,
scary.
is that what this big trend is of wearing the mask?
No,
over your
that's old. That started before.
Okay, I was going to say I feel like that's becoming more popular. I'm seeing that around now here, and I'm seeing more and more people do that with like
the bird flu thing where it's the mask. that goes
yeah,
over your
yeah,
face and
but
your
now they're
mouth.
making them like stylish and shit, where they have like skulls on them, and like it's like and you see some fucking hip hop artists rocking them.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. No, I gotta look it up. I gotta see where I didn't know why though. Like I don't understand what the deal is with them and what the reason.
It's been around for a long time. I actually looked it up a long time ago, and I believe Japan started it. No joke, but they would do it as a for politeness. So if you're coughing, so that you don't cough on people, so they would wear these masks.
Yeah, I appreciate that on the plane and everything. If people have those, I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah,
I don't get to breathe their germs.
Yep, exactly.
All right, our first question is from Pat Nori. What are your thoughts on cluster sets and how would you integrate them into maps?
You've been doing these, huh, Adam?
I have.
So I tried doing these Friday in my Friday workout, and I don't know if I did them right. So let me know what you think. So I picked a weight that I could do
12
like
reps
max. No, okay. So I did something I could do like 8 reps. So maybe I went a little too heavy.
Yeah, that's a little heavy. You want something that you could do probably 8 to 12. You want something you can do 8 to 12 reps.
Okay, so then what I did is I would do like 4 or 5 reps, and I'd rest 20 to 30 seconds. But I think the rest was too long.
Shorter, yeah.
Okay, so what do you do?
15-second. So first of all, I don't, and I know I'll get DMs. So I'll get somebody telling me what the original. The
origin of the cluster.
Right, of the cluster set. But when I've looked it up, so first of all, I'd seen them a long time ago and talked about them before. In fact, I remember kind of integrating them into my workouts way back when we interviewed and hung out with Scott Stevenson, who swears by them and loves them, is what made me go, oh, you know what? It's been a long time since I fucked around with cluster sets. And since him, I've been intermittently dropping them into my workouts on a fairly regular basis. And I absolutely love them. Now, what I did after talking to him and the protocol he talks about on the show, I went and just kind of started researching and Googling and looking up myself. And there's a billion different ways on like exactly what you do. Now, the idea though is that, okay, so let's say you pick a weight that you would normally do 4 or 5 sets at 8 reps. So think of the volume on that. So you could factor in whatever that weight is, 8 sets. 5 sets, 8 reps,
40 sets.
Yeah, right. And it's like right. Total reps is X amount. Whatever weight is X amount. That's your volume. When you cluster it, what ends up happening is you end up doing like 10 or 12 sets in an even shorter amount of time. And so you accomplish a significant amount more volume in a shorter period of time than you would over 5 sets.
Okay, so walk us through how you would do this.
So what I do is I pick a weight that I can do 8 to 12 reps. So let's just say bicep curls is an easy one to teach and explain to people. So I pick a weight that for me, I think for bicep curls like that is probably like 60 to 80 pounds, somewhere in there. Okay. But I only do 4 reps.
So you go 4, stop,
rest 15 seconds, pick it back up, 4 more.
Okay.
Rest 15 seconds, pick it back up, 4 more. And what ends up happening is...
Now, how long do you do that for?
I go till failure.
So you keep going until you can't do 4.
Right. Or till form breaks down.
Right. Well, that's what I mean.
Right.
So till you can't do 4 with good form.
Right. And what I kind of find out, or what I've found out is, or come to the conclusion that I get about... that same weight that I would do 5 sets of 8 to 12 reps, I end up getting like 10 sets out.
So you do 10 sets, 40 reps, or 4 reps each time. Or
yeah,
whatever.
well, I don't count sets. I go until
Just keep going.
Keep going by feel.
Yeah, I go by feel until I can't. But I keep tracking my head mentally, like, oh, that was the 7th set. Oh, that's the 8th. Now I'm starting to fatigue.
So it's a long ass set.
Yeah,
and you do 15 seconds
Just
in between.
pure volume focus.
Yes,
and just 15-second rest.
Yeah.
Now at the end of that, because that sounds exhausting. It sounds awesome.
It's how I like to finish a muscle.
Yeah, I want
group.
to try that.
I was just gonna say, would you then do? Let's say you were supposed to do 3 sets of an exercise. Is that all considered 1 set, or are you done?
Well, I think you're done.
Yeah.
So I typically would do something like I would like start my workout, do something, and that I like to finish with a cluster set like that. Because it only takes you, it doesn't take you very long because of the short rest periods, but you end up getting a ton of volume in a very short period of time.
I did something similar than that, but I did a little longer rest. I did like 25-second, 30-second rest, but I did something similar. I got a insane pump.
Yeah,
from it.
no,
insane
so
pump. From
I've got an insane pump from it too. That's why I like it.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start messing around with them a little bit and commenting. Now, from what I've seen, there was one study that was done on them, and the study showed that it was slightly more effective than straight sets. Now, here's where the caveat comes. Like all studies, it's a short period of time.
Right. So if you do cluster sets all the fucking time,
Probably going to lose its value.
right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like to intermittently throw it in there, and I do recommend people utilize it. I mean, especially if you guys all end up using it and falling in love with it, I wouldn't be surprised if it works its way into another MAPS program as something. It's something you could totally include now. Like I would just take, and personally, I think I've done it almost everything now. I find it most valuable in single joint exercises. You know, doing it with chest kind of worked. It was cool. Like I did a cluster set with bench press. It was all right. But I really like it for arms, so bis and tris. Shoulders were pretty solid too. I liked it for shoulders. Not as big, even though it's cool, not as big of a fan for chest and back and legs. But
is it just because it's just gross motor movement? You're using too many muscles. You feel like you got too tired doing it.
Yeah, I felt like I couldn't get as many like bicep curls. Man, I felt like I could get set after set after set after
Makes
set.
sense.
Where bench, like after I did bench, you know, with a weight that is hard for me to do 8 to 10 reps. About that third or fourth set, I was already like form was about to break down, so I wasn't able to prolong.
So my hunch with cluster sets is it's more of an advanced technique, something reserved for people who've been working out a little while, understand their body.
Anything that's going to drive you a little bit towards the failure end of it, I would say that's probably a little more on the advanced side, intermediate to advanced.
Now the other benefit is you could do. There's bar speed is probably better. So, you know, when you're doing a set of 12 to, you know, momentary failure or whatever, your bar speed is really slowing down after rep number 8. But if you're doing 4, rest, 4, rest.
I think that's why it's appealing. You know, somebody like I like doing just like few reps and like really, you know, concentrating on the mechanics of that. It does allow like the fatigue isn't really as prevalent, but this will definitely like. How did it feel towards like your 9th and 10th set?
Oh, your pump is crazy.
Yeah.
You get a massive pump from it. You feel great.
So as an advanced technique, this sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This isn't like something that like if there's somebody out there that's pushing it and selling it as the end all be all. It's not. I mean, it's another tool in your tool belt.
It's a great interrupter.
Yeah, it's another tool in your tool belt. It's a cool thing to intermittently do that. My suggestion to somebody trying it out is try it with a single joint exercise. Try it with a basic exercise like bicep curls or tricep push downs, or something that's pretty easy to adjust the weight and move real quick. And it's not a compound. There's not a lot of high risk. You're not loading it on your back or, barbell pressing something. Like start with something like that. Pay attention to how you feel. I think it's a cool little tool.
Yeah. And you have to be really cognizant. This is another reason why. So there's 2 reasons why I would think it's for advanced trainees. One is the intensity involved. A cluster set's probably going to be too much intensity for the average person. It'll just kind of tip you over.
Yeah, if you're just getting started, like in your MAPS Anabolic program, like this doesn't belong.
No, it's not going to help you.
There.
If anything, it'll hurt you. The second reason why I think this is more for advanced trainees is you have to understand, you have to be cognizant of the subtle changes in your form. So like for me, for example, if I'm squatting or benching or rowing or deadlifting, I can tell when my form is 2 degrees off of perfect.
No, this is a very good point because my definition of failure is very different from, I think, the average person that thinks what failure looks like.
I can do another one. Right. Like, yeah, you can, but not with anywhere near the form.
My failure normally means I can still squeeze out 3 more reps, but they're going to be ugly. I'm going to use body English. I'm going to use momentum. My form is going to break down. So for me, like when I go to failure, it's till the form. As soon as my form breaks,
and you have to know your form really well to know that. The average person who's not advanced, they don't know when their form is really starting to break down until it's really broken down.
Right.
At which point the risk of injury is now astronomical.
Yeah, and not even if it's not like you're doing bicycle curls, it's not astronomical. The risk versus reward isn't there.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like it's a high risk, and is it really that? Are you really getting that much more bang for your buck to squeeze out those 2 last shitty reps? No, it's just not. You're not going to get major gains from that. So why risk it? Why do it?
Next question is from L.A. Penman. What are your thoughts on SARMs?
SARMs, we're
It just
asking.
keeps coming up.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions on this, and more so recently. Recently, we've seen a lot of these SARM questions, and I think it's because these gray market companies, these gray market pharmaceutical companies, are making pushes now with advertising, and you're hearing podcasters and body, hackers and biohackers that using SARMs are great or whatever. So let me give you a little rundown first of what SARMs are, and then we can talk about whether or not they're even worth messing with. So SARM stands for Selective Androgen Receptor Modulator. So SARMs are like a selective estrogen receptor modulators, are what we've had for a long time, like Nolvadex. This is a drug that is prescribed to women after having breast cancer or certain types of breast cancers to block the estrogen receptor and potentially reduce the risk of estrogen-sensitive cancers from running out of control or whatever. And so what they did with SARMs, which attached to the androgen receptor, the goal was to develop drugs that will attach to the androgen receptor, get it to express its anabolic qualities, muscle-building, pro-tissue qualities, and get it to not express any of its androgenic qualities. And the androgenic qualities are the masculinizing effects that these receptors can produce, like deepening of the voice, aggression, male pattern baldness, those types of things. And so the thing is, okay, we know that giving people testosterone, for example, when they have cancer or HIV or other types of illness can help many times because it prevents muscle wasting or muscle loss. We also know that as people age, they start to lose muscle and bone. And so they're like, okay, we could give them testosterone, but testosterone has its own side effects. What if we developed a drug that provided the benefits of testosterone minus all of the side effects? And so that was the goal with SARMs. And so they developed these chemicals. Now here's the thing with SARMs. They are nowhere near being approved. They're in, most of them are in first phase trials. We don't know 100% what the side effects are, how they work in the body, but because they're not listed or scheduled as a schedule drug like testosterone is, there's this gray area where they can sell them online, sell them as research chemicals, and you can buy them and then just take them yourself. So because you can buy them online, they've become the next, hey, take this cool thing. It works like steroids.
Somehow people think that that's a safer option because it's not like scheduled.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mess with these at all.
Now, I didn't realize that they're that similar to like Nolvadex, and
they're similar in the sense that they're designed to attach to a receptor, but Nolvadex attaches to the estrogen receptor. This attaches to the androgen receptor.
So what makes you think that it's not going to end up being as good or as effective as a drug like Nolvadex and as safe?
Nolvadex's goal is to block the estrogen receptor, not to activate it.
Right.
It's basically designed to park itself in that receptor and block it so that estrogen can't do anything to it. Now, we know Nolvadex has been around long enough to know that you take Nolvadex and it still will cause some estrogenic side effects. Not like estrogen, but much weaker. These drugs are designed to activate the androgen receptor. It's also a different receptor, and it's also a different drug. So just because it's a androgen receptor modulator doesn't mean that it's anything like Nolvadex at all.
Okay.
'Cause, for example, I could create an opiate that's still in the class of opiates, but it would kill you versus other opiates which you can take, like Vicodin or whatever.
Right.
So I can make a cannabinoid. In fact, they've done this with cannabinoids. Some companies have tried to make synthetic cannabinoids that will, skirt around the law and get you high. And those cannabinoids, some of them have caused people to go crazy. Some of them have killed people.
Horrible results with those.
Right. So just because it's in the same, it attaches to the same receptor or it's in the same kind of class or category, doesn't make it safe whatsoever. It could have very, very dangerous effects potentially. So with SARMs, we don't know. We don't fucking know what they do. We have a lot of anecdote. And then the people are using them are using doses that are not being used in the studies. And some of these studies are coming back and showing potential liver cancer, potential issues with the kidneys, In animal studies. A lot of these are animal studies. We don't even know what they do to humans. So this is an area I wouldn't fuck with. I wouldn't mess with this area. I mean, if you want to take a drug that attaches to your androgen receptor to give you steroid-like effects, take steroids. And I'm not saying that lightly. Anabolic steroids have been around for a long time, and we know what they do and what they don't do. With Sarms, we don't know. There was a study that came out recently that analyzed 44 online products. Here's another reason why I wouldn't mess with them. 44 online products that advertised saying that they had Sarms. So let's see what they actually have in them. Half of them contained an actual SARM. So the other half had who knows.
Yeah, what was in it?
10% contained nothing at all. 10% just were oil or whatever. Yeah. 40%, so almost half, had other hormones and unapproved drugs. So almost half of them contained maybe hormones or things that you're not even trying to take. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this really works. Well, yeah, because it contains D-ball.
So I was going to say, so it sounds like real similar to like
pro-hormone thing.
The good old supplement hustle, which is because it's gray market, because it's not regulated, you have and you can create whatever serum you want. Pixie dust, like real hormones and shit in there so people actually feel
hooked.
Yeah, because they feel it or see a difference and then sell the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen to this one. They found several of them. This is from the same study. Several contained a drug that was abandoned by GlaxoSmithKline a decade ago after it was found to cause cancer in animals.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And this is what a lot of these companies will do is these are these research chemical companies. What they do is they'll go through the discarded drugs that these pharma companies tried to get approved or did testing and then discarded them because they found out like, oh, this one causes heart disease.
Right.
This one causes liver cancer. This one. They'll find those discarded ones. They'll create those ones because they do have effects, but they also have crazy side effects. And then they'll sell them. And because they're not listed as banned substances, technically, as long as they say it's not for human consumption, because this is what will happen. You'll go on these websites to buy Sarms, and you'll see it says not for human consumption. They're doing that to cover their asses. Mm-hmm. No, you're playing. This is literally Russian roulette, literally, with Sarms. And here's the other thing with Sarms. I know a lot of people who've taken real Sarms. And do they build muscle? A little bit. It ain't close to anabolic steroids. I know lots of guys who've taken both anabolics and SARMs and like, it doesn't do a whole lot. Like anabolics are way more effective. Oh, and then another reason that they sell them or why people take them is they think that SARMs don't shut down testosterone. So they say, oh, you can take a SARM and it won't shut down your testosterone like taking anabolic steroids do. Not true.
Not the doses that they're measuring.
Well, even at the low doses, blocking the androgen receptor still sends a signal to the brain that says, hey, or attaching to the androgen receptor tells the brain, hey, we've got too much testosterone. Let's lower production. So it's just, I don't see any benefit from these other than if some of them get approved and show that there's some safety. I could see maybe SARMs being prescribed to women to help with osteopenia or muscle, because testosterone obviously has, masculinizing effects on women. But no, I wouldn't mess with these at all. And I get really irritated that I mean, there's people in our space that promote them because they try to promote the latest and greatest cool chemical. But no, don't fuck with them.
I agree.
Next question is from Jose Benales. How do you guys stay healthy during long road trips? Do you meal prep or get food on the road?
Staying healthy is easy. Making gains or progress during those times is what I think is challenging.
Yeah, very challenging.
So it really depends on where I'm currently at. Like if I'm in a space of I've set a goal, I'm going to change my body fat percentage, or I'm going to build X amount of muscle, or I'm on like a really strict program, both diet and exercise, then I make the time, which means it may mean I pack my food. It may mean that I get away for an hour to go get to the gym, regardless of what we're doing. But for the most part, and where I'm currently at right now, where I'm not competing or training for anything like that, staying healthy on a trip is not that hard. And I think we overcomplicate that. I think that I think the beauty is that you actually should be able to enjoy yourself while you're on vacation or a trip like that. Like this is a time when I actually would have a glass of wine or a beer with the guys, or go eat out at a restaurant and have a steak and maybe an appetizer and stuff like that. And I think that where people go wrong is they either overindulge on that. They go to the whole restrict binge, they restrict so hard all the time, and then they go on their vacation and they they binge and they go crazy, or they allow a trip like that to start the spiraling process of, I ate like shit all weekend, then I get back, I'm not in the mood to exercise, I'm not in the mood to eat well, and then that becomes like this downhill spiral. But honestly, the damage that you would have to do over a 2 to 5 day vacation, man, the amount of calorie surplus that you would have to eat every single day to really change your body, to where you fucked it up and put a bunch of body fat on, that's a lot of calories.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, unless you're overdoing it. You're really binging while you're on vacation. If you come back and you put 5 pounds or 10 pounds of real body fat,
which does happen. I mean, some people will go a little bit, crazy, but I totally agree. I think it's way overhyped, especially because most of these trips aren't as long in comparison to your entire journey for the year. Even this is a blip that you're going to kind of just go through. But at the same time, we have found, and I have found that anytime now scheduling something in terms of a vacation, it's way more beneficial for me to find a house or find something that has a kitchen or whatever, so I could stockpile stuff. I go to a grocery store there and actually eat it, and it helps a little bit with the food decisions and the choices, because it does, in terms of how I feel coming back to the gym and all that, it does play a factor, but it's not the end all be all. It depends on what kind of trip I'm taking.
Look at your health. If you're really concerned about your health, because the only people I see who are going to have struggle with this are the super body obsessed, fanatical, maybe slightly food issue, body issue type people. But everybody else, if you're I'm worried about my health and whatever. Okay, consider this. First of all, if you look at your health, it's this big sphere that contains lots of different components, and diet and exercise are part of that. But there's also leisure and connections with friends, and those play an important role in your health. In fact, there was a huge study done by Harvard that showed that the relationships you have in your life play a bigger role in your health by themselves than exercise does by itself and diet does by itself. They also showed that having poor relationships was as bad for your health as smoking 15 to 20 cigarettes every single day. So if you're a health conscious person, you're super fit, you work out all the time, you eat really well, and you're oh my God, I have a 7-day vacation in Cabo with my wife or my husband and my friends, what am I going to do? You know what you're going to do? You're going to focus on the other side of your health, which is
going to party.
The relationships with your friends, the relationships with your family, the enjoyment of the place that you're in. That will do more for your health than going there and stressing about your diet and exercise and pissing people off around you.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
And not nurturing your relationships.
Now, do you guys do anything different leading up to that? I know I'm not going on vacation, but I fly out on Friday. And it's just the fact that I'm traveling. I got to fly. Anytime I got to fly, it normally throws off my training, throws off my eating. So I know that's already a day that's going to be challenging for me, right? When I know that I'm flying out, or I know that I'm taking a weekend vacation, or I know where Katrina and I are heading up to Sanctuary, I tend to really tighten up the reins on myself the week leading up to that. So I know that I have kind of this buffer during that trip. So, I'm always eating good. I'm always training, but I eat extra good or don't miss my training or train extra hard that week leading up to a vacation to help with that buffer. So I don't have to stress about that. I think, to me, the week leading up and the week after a vacation is more important than what actually happens on the vacation.
So I used to do that, right? I used to do that with diet, where I'd eat much more strict leading up to it, but I found that led more to
more binging?
Yeah, more toward the tendency of, now I'm going into my vacation feeling a little restricted, and then I'm yes, I'm finally here, I don't have to eat this way anymore type of mentality. So now I'm just the same walking in. Now with workouts, that's different, because with workouts, I'll say to myself, now depending on where I'm going, if I'm going somewhere, let's say it's just Jessica and I, we both love working out, it's fun. We tend to book things with gyms, and then we'll schedule the workouts, and that's part of the vacation. We have a lot of fun doing that. But if I'm going somewhere with other family members, or there's not going to be a gym, I'll just work out a little harder the week leading up to it, and then I'll use that as kind of recovery time. But otherwise, I tell you what, if you're really freaking out about what you're going to eat and what you're going to do, and that can A, lead to the binge mentality, or B, make it so that you're not really gaining the full benefit of this vacation or trip. When you go on a vacation, this took me a long time to learn, dude. I used to go and I would do that. I would get shredded leading into a vacation. Then on the vacation, I'd fucking just go crazy. Now what I do is I go and I eat out and stuff, but I'm not stuffing my face. I'm enjoying the food. I'm actually tasting it and enjoying it. And workouts, if they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. Depends on if I'm with you guys or again with Jessica, probably work out because we all like doing it. If I'm not, then I'm not going to force everybody to do that. It's not that big of a deal. But I think people freak out so much about this because they're like, oh my God, I'm going to take 5 days off. It's going to ruin my body. It's going to ruin my health. It's not. It's not going to do that.
I don't have any hysteria towards it. I think just in terms of my own enjoyment, I do like to either be active or like focus a little bit more on maybe not going, so extreme with the eating. I know it'll be there, but I'll try and make better decisions. It's like one or the other. I don't like coming back. Just like both factors have been way off kilter, and then I just hate that feeling when you come back.
Well, it's hard to get going again.
Yeah.
That's why I think the week before and the week after are more important than the actual week of the trip, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because a lot of times when you go, crazy with the food and you don't eat any and you don't exercise, the first day back, rarely from vacation like that, very few people are disciplined enough to make it in the gym that day. And typically that week of vacation or 5 days or whatever it was is what normally sends people on the I'm off the wagon now. That's what kicked off the wagon. So in my opinion, going into that week and the coming out of that week is more important than the actual week. Now, I also don't think that you should restrict so hard that you binge. I think that's a good point that Sal brings up, and I'm probably in my early years, I didn't have as good a relationship with food. I probably did something similar. Now I just know, because I have a very balanced diet right now, it's easy for me to maintain about 12 to 14% body fat. That's not like super lean for me. It's not a lot of sacrifice. It means I can have a burger when I want it. It means I can have fries every once in a while. It means that I can enjoy things. I can enjoy a soda that has sugar in it every now and then. I could eat a half pound of grapes. It means I can do things like that and still keep maintaining balance. Now, knowing that I have somewhere to go on Friday, I just tighten it up a tiny bit. Like maybe this week I won't have a burger out because more than likely I'll probably have something eating out on Friday when I'm traveling. So that's what I mean by tighten things up is the foods or the things that I would kind of let myself eat outside the normal quote unquote healthy or ideal foods. I tend to say I'm probably going to do that by chance because I'm flying on Friday, and I'll probably eat in a hotel or eat inside of an airport at one point, and the choices that I have there, I don't want to stress about them. If it's a burger, it's a burger, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to worry about it because I had a great week leading up to this, and I plan to be right back on the wagon when I'm back from the trip.
Now I do want to address people who travel a lot because that's different, right? People who travel a lot for work. Now you have to. Now, yes, it makes sense to pay attention to workouts and nutrition when you're gone because maybe you're gone 5 days out of every month.
Right.
There are people that travel like this.
True.
In which case, here's a couple tips that you can do that I think should help. Most restaurants will have a meat and vegetable option. That's usually a good option. It's usually a good option to have a plate of vegetables and then have some kind of meat. It tends to keep calories low. It's satiating. Gives you all the essential, nutrients that you may need.
You don't even need to look at the menu, really. You just need to order that and see what they come up with.
Yeah, and ask them. Say, hey, can I get a side of vegetables? What vegetables do you have? And oftentimes they'll have broccoli or asparagus as a side. You can order that. You can order your meat. If you want some starches, most places will offer a baked potato, which is a very clean, quote unquote, clean form of carbohydrate. As far as workouts are concerned, Maps Anywhere is a great program. That's why we designed it. We designed it specifically for people like this. Body weight exercises. And if you don't want to buy the program and just like, hey, what can you give me advice-wise in terms of workouts? 30-minute daily body weight workouts are a great way to kind of maintain fitness. And that's where you can pick, 3 or 4 exercises that are body weight that are challenging and do them every morning for 30 minutes. Just wake up. If you're gone for 5 days, that means 5 days every morning, 30 minutes, you're doing some body weight exercises just to keep your body moving. That should maintain your fitness for when you get back home Maps Anywhere would be even better than that. Obviously, it's a well-programmed workout that might even take your fitness to a better level. But for those people, I'd say then, yeah, you want to pay attention because you're traveling so often.
Next question is from Andrew Beth. Have you ever dealt with major anxiety? And if so, what have been some of your best coping mechanisms?
Have you guys ever had like big time anxiety?
I'm trying to rack my brain right now.
Well, I had a panic attack, if that counts.
Yeah, that definitely,
I think so.
it counts, bro.
I think it's the same.
Yeah, no, I've told this on other podcasts. I'm pretty sure I brought it up on this one. But yeah, it was just a compilation of like all these different factors at once in terms of what I was just, I didn't realize how much I was internalizing stress-wise. And like I was trying to launch this product, via Kickstarter. I was trying to, contribute to this business. I was trying to manage a bunch of things at home at the same time. There was just a multitude of things that I was trying to just like fight my way through. Like I'm just weathering the storm. This was like a mechanism that I had done me well in the past. Like it was something I could get through, like challenging things by sort of bearing down and trying to work my way out of it and dig my way out. But apparently that method sort of came back to bite me in the ass, and this is one of those things that just came out of nowhere. Like it was a very physical thing that happened to me where I at first started to feel a pain, like almost like an appendix sort of an issue, where it was like it felt like this tightening, and then felt like almost like it ruptured. Like I was like having a physical response with this stress, and it knocked me down on the ground. I was on the ground rolling, trying to find a comfortable position. Again, drew a bath because this is like one of my things. I was like, maybe I could like relax by getting in hot water, like that's one of the go-tos. Maybe I could puke it out.
Did you puke it out? Did you take a lot of baths as a kid or something? That seems like your thing.
I did. There's like pictures. You ever do that where like my mom would have like my friends, this is when we were real little, and we'd all take a bath. She took pictures of all of us taking baths with my friends.
Oh, you guys are...
I'm like, how dare you?
You're only like, how old were you, 16?
Yeah. So just a little bit awkward. We're going through puberty. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like doing all these things. I'm like trying to get it out. And I'm like, that's not how it works, I guess. And so that made it worse. And I was like in this doubled over excruciating pain. I was like, just at a point where I'm trying to get cold presses. I'm trying to do all this stuff. And like, I just couldn't get comfortable. And then Courtney's like, I got to take you to the hospital. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on with you. I got to take you to the hospital. So she took me to the ER, and the whole way there, I'm just doubled over. I didn't know like what the hell was going on. The worst was I just didn't know what was going on. Like I knew something was wrong. And and I have a pretty high pain tolerance. Like, and my parents will tell, like I've had like an infection where I stepped on this nail, and I got a like this bacteria called Pseudomonas that made its way into my leg, which is basically a flesh-eating bacteria.
That's what's wrong with your feet.
Yeah, it's no, that's not the only thing. Trust me, there's a lot. And it healed up, and so my whole leg was basically this big infected leg. And anyways, and I was walking on that for a couple days, and on my way home I couldn't even, like I was crawling home. So anyway, I'm just trying to paint a picture. Like I was dealing with
You're
that.
a tough guy.
No, I'm just saying like this was real.
Yeah, no, you are a tough guy.
So so we get there, and it's like it's a weird thing, but I think it was just like psychologically I'm in a place where they're going to be able to help me. And so the pain started to kind of like go down, and I'm like, oh no, like that's when I was like, no, like what is this? Like, oh no, don't tell me I'm like getting better, this is bullshit. And I still had some pain. I told the doctor, so they put me on morphine anyway, but at that point I was already calming back down, and then I laid down and everything was fine. And
so totally it was a panic attack.
It was a panic attack. It was just literally stress driven.
Wow.
And I was like embarrassed, because it was like, I was like, what?
You did it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what, dude? Don't be embarrassed because
a lot of people have
this.
this.
You can't separate the physical from the experience of the pain. So physical pain, experience of the pain, both can wreak havoc on the body, and both can cause each other to happen. So you can So people who are like, oh, I didn't just imagine it. There's something that's really there, and it doesn't matter. It was
What
there.
about you? What about you, Sal? I feel like you'd be anxious.
I'm
seem anxious.
Yeah, I'm an anxious type person, but I don't really suffer from anxiety. Under really stressful situations, I tend to become a little hyper, maybe a little more productive and focused. Although I will say this, because I was thinking about it, it's like, when have I ever felt like real anxiety? When we started doing the live events and talking to big groups of people, which I've never had issues with in the past, but I think this was I had put so much pressure on myself, and these people all know me because they listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. And what I did leading into it is I thought, okay, I want to be sharp. And the way I know there are certain things I can take that will make me feel more sharp, and they're all stimulants like caffeine or other types of stimulants that I can take that'll make me feel up, and then I can do a better presentation. Well, that was a bad mistake because I was taking stimulants, and I was also naturally heightened because of the, okay, I'm going to go talk to a bunch of people. And it caused me to feel, the first time I think I ever felt like actual physical anxiety, where you feel like your breath is kind of short, and if I talk too much, I'm going to lose my breath, and you got to be careful where I'm sitting type of deal. That happened at one of the events. And now the way I cope with it now is I understand that when I'm about to do something big, I naturally hype myself up. I'm naturally going to have high levels of stimulating chemicals in my body. What I need to do is the opposite,
right?
Bring my body down. So what I do now before we do an event like that is I take theanine, I'll take my Ned, so I'll do like a full dropper full of Ned. I'll go into it, and that will balance out my natural hyperness, and I'm nice, even keel and feeling good. But if I have a bunch of coffee before doing an event like that, not a good idea. It'll be too much all at once, and I won't feel good. Now, that being said, I'll tell you what, I've dealt with lots of anxiety in my family, and I can tell you two things that are really, really good. One is have something on hand that will treat acute anxiety. Now, that may be a medication, so it may be like a benzo drug, like a Xanax that you get prescription for, or it may be something natural like passion flower or theanine, for example, which can both help. They're very, very mild in comparison to a Xanax, but they can both help. Or Ned, have some hemp oil extract that you can use. And the reason why that's a good idea is because sometimes just having something there, like I've worked with clients who've gotten a prescription for Xanax, never used it. But the fact that they had it helped them because they knew, I got this here just in case.
Right.
And then the other thing is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the only natural thing that's been shown in clinical studies to be almost as effective as medication for dealing with physical anxiety. It's that powerful. The problem is you need to practice it. Something you need to practice every single day.
I feel like it's a reframing thing, right? Like I'm a terrible person to answer this question because I don't think I've had, or at least I can't recall like a story like Justin where like it was like this it was so overwhelming that it physically got to me. Most certainly I've had anxious moments, like, before every basketball game, before every time I've had to speak in front of a crowd, the first few times we probably did this podcast, the first time I had gone YouTube, like all those things create a little bit of anxiousness or a little bit of anxiety, you would say. But for me, I've always been able to, and I don't know if this goes back to maybe playing sports and piecing this together, but it's funny, the feeling you get of like super excitement and anxiousness is like similar.
Physiologically the same.
Yeah. So like if you can just learn to like reframe it, that like amped, crazy feeling you're feeling is, instead of it being like a daunting thing, like a scary thing, it's like I switch it over and kind of grin at it like, oh yeah, I'm getting amped right now. I'm excited. Like I just start telling myself that in my head, like, oh, I'm excited. I can feel the butterflies. I can feel my skin moving.
I was just going to say, do you remember the first times when you were younger and you knew you were going to like make out with a girl or you were going to fool around and how you would feel beforehand?
Right.
You'd get kind of shaky and like jittery and like, oh my, but because you were excited, it wasn't scary.
Right.
It's this, physiologically speaking, it's the same shit's happening in your body. Same chemicals are being released. One of them you think is scary. The other one you're like, this is exciting.
You just you make peace with the very worst outcome. So if I'm going to go play a basketball game, what's the worst thing that can happen? I freaking play terrible. Is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if I get in front of stage of 300 people and I'm talking to this big group, I
suck.
totally bomb.
Yeah.
I totally bomb. It's terrible. Nobody likes me afterwards. So the fuck what? Like once I make peace with the worst outcome of whatever situation is causing me to be anxious or have anxiety, I think that's what makes me be okay, is that I've just, all right, this is worst case scenario. The fact that I'm feeling this way, instead of being stressing me out more and causing more anxiety, I go like, ooh, wow, this got to me. This is exciting. I'm going to do something that's actually got my juices flowing, because I mean, again, trying to look at it as a positive thing, because man, how often do we go about our days and not have these emotional feelings that like wake you up? Like how many people are just stuck in the 9 to 5 and feel the same way every day, and everything's just fucking even kill all the time? Like the fact that I'm doing something in my life that causes this little rumble or this nervousness is like, ooh, this is cool.
Yeah, I think it too, like, reflecting back on, why that happened. It was toxic. It was negative. There was no connotation of a positive outcome. Like there was just like doom and turmoil and being pulled in so many, like being ripped, apart in so many different directions that I knew, like, I think that my internal voice was like, abandoned ship, and so it wasn't like because I could do that for every other sport and every other event. Like I went to talk on Ben Greenfield's podcast by myself, which is the last thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like I did not want to do that.
Yeah.
I've spoken in front of, Apple before.
Yeah.
I did not want to do that.
Yeah.
And turn that into excitement. But I think it's a matter of addressing it and dealing with something, like your body physically tries to tell you these things. I think a lot of times when people ignore it, and there's probably somebody in your life, or there's probably something going on with your work that you need to make a decision on that you're probably not.
No, that one show on Netflix that was talking about the mind, and they were talking about mindfulness, and they had the monks on there explaining how they meditate and whatever. Have you guys ever seen that? It's a famous picture, and I believe it's from the 60s or 50s, and there's a Buddhist monk who's protesting, and I forgot what he was protesting, but he kneels down.
Himself on fire.
He pours gas on himself, and he kneels down, lights himself on fire, and meditates, and literally burns to death. And not a single muscle twitched, not a single scream came out of his body. He sat there and meditated while his body caught fire.
The craziest thing ever.
And the reason why they can do stuff like that, Doug's gonna pull it up. There he is. This is 1963. Look at that.
Now, is that a real image, or is that?
No,
just
that's really him.
Yeah.
That's
the cover of Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I was going to say that is Rage.
He really did that.
Yeah.
And the reason why they can do that is because through mindfulness, they've changed the relationship they have with certain feelings. So he still felt the pain of the burn. He still felt all that stuff, but he just felt it. He just felt the pain. It's just a signal. He's not interpreting it as bad, hurtful, whatever. He just feels it. And so what mindfulness tells us about anxiety is just allow yourself to feel it, but don't attach anything to it. So just, heart's beating fast,
recognize
whatever, or attach something positive to it, like what Adam was saying.
Yeah, and your advice too, I think, is something that I've learned over years that I did wrong in the past, of doing other things that hyped myself up. Like I was already hyped enough. Like there's no reason for me to take any stimulant because I have a natural high, and that would just make it more challenging. I do love to use like Ned for like almost every talk we've done. I've done the same thing. I haven't messed with theanine in that situation, but I have taken Ned before, and that just kind of helps me calm down, relax a little bit.
And now if you're someone that suffers from lots of anxiety, obviously we're not doctors, but there's a couple things that the literature says it's pretty clear. Take no stimulants. So if you drink coffee every day, even if it's 1 cup, go off of it. It has a negative effect on anybody who has anxiety issues for the most part. The second thing is work on your sleep. Lack of sleep can dramatically increase anxiety symptoms in people who suffer from all kinds of different types of anxiety. So focus on sleep. And the third thing is exercise regularly. Exercise is another thing that has been shown to reduce the symptoms of anxiety. And sometimes when you're feeling anxious, moving actually helps get that feeling out of your body. So you're feeling anxious, you go to the gym or you go for a long walk, and you'll find that the anxiety will start to come down. And with that, go to mindpumpfree.com and download our guides. They're all absolutely free. You can also find all of us on Instagram. You can find Justin at Mind Pump Justin. You can find me at Mind Pump Sal and Adam at Mind Pump Adam.